My daughter kept talking about this creepy substitute teacher who writes down what kids say. When I discovered why, I couldn't stop crying. The first time my daughter mentioned Mr. Reed, I barely noticed. Just another substitute teacher in the endless parade of adults moving through her third grade classroom. But something changed in the way she talked about school on the days he was there. No one really knew much about him. Quiet man, neat clothes, nothing fancy. He always carried the same brown leather bag with a worn strap, the kind that's been fixed many times because it matters to someone. My daughter Emma would come home with stories about him, how he never rushed anyone, how he wrote down things kids said in a small notebook. Not the wrong answers or mistakes, just the funny, surprising things that popped out of their mouths throughout the day. When most teachers asked questions, Emma said, they already knew exactly what answer they wanted. But Mr. Reed asked questions like he truly didn't know what you might say. And when you answered, he listened with his whole body, eyes focused, head tilted slightly, no checking the clock or looking toward the next raised hand. I caught myself wondering about him during my workday, this mystery man who made my usually quiet daughter talk nonstop about school. One Tuesday, I finished work early and arrived at pickup before the final bell. The classroom door was open. I peeked in, thinking I'd surprise Emma. Instead, I found Mr. Reed alone at a student desk, hunched over, looking too big for the tiny chair. He was writing in a thick journal, his face completely absorbed in the task. When he finally noticed me in the doorway, something passed across his face, something raw and unguarded. Not embarrassment exactly, more like being caught in a private moment of prayer. He closed the journal quickly, stood up and smoothed his sweater, smiled in that polite way adults do when they've shown too much by accident. We talked about Emma, her creative writing, her quiet leadership, how she always noticed when other kids needed help. As we spoke, I realized he knew my daughter in ways I didn't, had seen sides of her that existed only in the classroom world where I wasn't present. The bell rang. Children flooded the hallways. The moment passed. Weeks later, during a school fundraiser, I found myself standing next to Mrs. Walsh, the school secretary who knew everyone's business. I asked about Mr. Reed. Her face softened. Such a sad story, she whispered. 5 years ago, a car accident. His wife and little boy didn't make it. He was driving. After the funeral, he quit his corporate job, went back to school, became a substitute teacher. I thought about those journals, all those children's words, all those small moments captured in his neat handwriting. That night, Emma showed me her writing homework, a story about a man who collected clouds in bottles so he could let them out on days when the sky was empty. Mr. Reed had written a note at the bottom. This reminds me of something my son once said about saving sunshine for rainy days. Thank you for this beautiful story. I understood then. Every classroom was temporary for him, every child a brief connection. But in those fleeting relationships, those borrowed hours, he found pieces of what he'd lost. In their innocent questions and unexpected wisdom, perhaps he heard echoes of another voice now silent. The next time I saw him in the school hallway, our eyes met differently. No words passed between us, just the quiet recognition that grief finds its own paths forward, sometimes through the voices of children who remind us in their clumsy, perfect ways that wonder still exists in the world. He never became Emma's regular teacher. That wasn't his role. He remained the substitute, the temporary guardian of classrooms between permanent teachers. But I understood why the children loved him so much. In a world where adults are always rushing, always distracted, he made them feel seen, made their words feel valuable enough to write down and keep. And maybe that was enough. Maybe that was everything.